Corbin Carroll, the Diamondback Golden Boy, is the only D-back to make the Golden Glove Finalist list. Is he out of his depth, or is it his to lose?
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, the show where we talk nothing but the D-backs Monday through Friday. Thank you so much for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every single day. I'm your host, Dane Biggs. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. You guys, I just want to start things out by addressing something I mentioned yesterday I mentioned two days ago. No, yesterday morning. Sorry. I mentioned yesterday morning that I would be going to the Arizona Fall League game that day, yesterday, and I did. And I even bought myself a snazzy hat, a Salt River Rafters hat. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty nice. And I was very excited to wear it for you guys today. And if you're just listening to this, you would have been able to imagine me. I would have come here with that energy, that Salt River Rafters energy. But like 30 minutes before I was going to start recording, I realized I wasn't wearing it, and I can't find it. And it's not a big deal for you guys because it doesn't really affect anything, but I've been looking for an hour and I cannot find it. I just had, when that happens, when you have something and it just poof disappears and it's gone. I don't know. It's brand spanking new. I don't think any of my kids would have taken it. I had it in my house. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm a little flustered because that happened. So, and I'm allergic to getting flustered. So, anyway, you guys, sorry about that, but that's fine. So if you guys are just listening to this, imagine I have the Salt River Rafters hat on because it's a pretty snazzy hat. And I was really excited to talk about the Fall League today and all that kind of stuff, but we actually have quite a bit to talk about as far as news goes. So we're going to have to push that to tomorrow. So hopefully by then I have my Rafters hat, but it was a lot of fun. I brought my brother and my daughter there, and we had a great time. It was very fun, very nice. Arizona weather has gotten quite nice and is going to continue being such. So that's fun. Anyway, today, here's what we are going to be talking about. We're going to talk about a new third base coach that has just been brought on. We're also going to be talking about Corbin Carroll as a Gold Glove finalist, and we're also going to be talking about Jordan Lawler, who's going to be playing winter ball during the off season. So very exciting, and I think it'll be a lot of really cool information that'll carry over into next season. So first of all, let's go ahead and talk about this new third base coach. The Diamondbacks have hired J.R. House as their third base coach. Now, House will be the third base coach, and he will also be the catching coach, which I didn't realize was previously being coached by bench coach Jeff Bannister. So I don't know if Jeff Bannister is a very experienced catchers coach. I don't know what effect he's had. I hadn't even thought about it really. But obviously there would be a catcher coach. But it'll be interesting to get him in as that. House and his family already live in Arizona. They've been a part of the Diamondbacks organization for a very long time until recently. In his first 7 years of coaching, he was in the D-backs organization as a manager for low A and high A the baseball teams. In 2015, he won the California League Manager of the Year award. And in 2018, he served as Arizona's minor league coordinator. So big in development and of young players and things like that. In 2019, he was hired by the Cincinnati Reds to be their third base coach and has been the third base coach until just now, until 2025. So, so he will be replacing Tim Bogar, who replaced Larkin. If you guys don't remember, in 2025, the Diamondbacks had recorded 18 outs at home plate, which was the most in the majors under Larkin, the third base coach. A lot of that being he sends people home and they get out. I did not find, I did look. I wanted to see if there was like a stat that was like lost, like stopping them when they didn't need to be stopped. I don't know. That would be a hard metric to find and to measure, but I wasn't able to find that. But after Larkin was relieved of third base coach duties, he wasn't fired. He was also the infield coach, and he remained the infield coach. Tim Bogar, who was the Double-A manager, the manager of the Sod Poodles, came up and served as third base coach for the remainder of the season and only had 3 outs at home plate after that. So we ended up with 21 outs at home plate, which put us at 25th out of 30 in the league. And just for a little bit of context, under Paris Chica, who was our longtime third base coach before Larkin and Bogar, until the end of 2024, the times that we were thrown out at home in 2024 was 8. So 21 this year, 8 last year. That was third least in the majors. There was a 6 and a 7 and an 8. We stood at 8th. So Paris Chica absolutely was very, very good at his job, knew what he was doing, and losing him definitely cost us a good deal during the season. Now, I wanted to see how House looks as well, just because he, you know, is he much better? Is he or is he worse? Whatever, what is he? And the consensus that I've seen online for the most part has been that this is a good get. We're excited, everything. But in 2025, we had 21 outs at home. Cincinnati had 19 outs at home. It wasn't much better. The league average, by the way, was 16. So it was still well above league average. And in 2024, where ours was 8, Cincinnati was 21. So not ranked, that we had 8 outs at home. They had 21 outs at home in 2024. So I'm not actually sure that this is much of a step up. I know there's a lot of factors, and again, I didn't see any stats that were related to like if there were any lost opportunities to go home. Maybe Larkin was more conservative and House is a lot more aggressive. And so he was thrown out 19 times, but they scored an additional X amount of times more than they would have under somebody else. So it's not a 100% done deal or anything, but I'm not really like excited about this get. But I see why maybe they wanted to clear up Bogar because he's gone back. He's presumably going to be going back to either managing the Sod Poodles or at least some other element of the organization, coaching role. So, which I'm happy for that. He seems to be very good at what he's doing. So, but from what we know right now, Bogar is getting replaced by House. Bogar is presumably, though I don't think it's been confirmed, is presumably still in the organization. Has just been moving back where he was. Larkin there's no word on whether or not he's fired or not. So we're going to assume, especially because Lavello said that nobody was like leaving, probably we're going to assume Larkin is going to remain as the infield coach and that everybody else is still the same. So anyway, kind of interesting. I'm glad that we were able to find somebody who has a history with the Diamondbacks. That's cool. I like that. good for House and his family. They live here in Arizona, so they're going to have a lot less traveling to do. Uh, but I don't. I think this is pretty far from saying it's it's a 100% win. But to end on a pretty good note, I found this quite interesting. There is a we were looking at in 2025 of the runners that reached base, how many of them eventually scored? So basically, what that is runs scored minus home runs because home runs that wouldn't count. And of everybody who was on base, how many of them touched home? And the Diamondbacks in 2025, 32% of runners reached home, eventually reached home. That is tied for second behind only the Milwaukee Brewers, the best team of 2025, and hopefully the winner of the National League Championship Series, though that's not looking super great. But and they were 33. So the Diamondbacks actually had some fairly good base running. There were a few holes there. With a little bit of a tighter uh, a little bit of a tighter ship at third, maybe that number would have been bumped up to 33. I don't know, but it's quite impressive still, nonetheless. Which because we always talk about how our average with runners in scoring position is low, and we always seem to leave guys stranded on base. And there's definitely truth to that, but it is interesting to see that actually, as far as runners reaching home, we're nearly the best in the league at getting them to score. Now, maybe I didn't actually check, I should have, but I wonder if that would be factored in. Like, did we put very many guys on base? Because maybe a team that puts a ton of guys on base and scores even more runs, but maybe not the same percentage of them, that number would be lower. So, that again, 32% of runners eventually reaching home doesn't equal a perfect team, but we did have a great offense this year. That's undeniable. And the first place team in this metric was the Brewers. So that all makes sense. Anyway, guys, we're going to talk about Corbin Carroll next. And he is a Gold Glove. I wrote Gold Globe on here. That's wrong. I wrote a Gold Glove finalist. And we're going to talk about that and who he's up against and if he has a chance at getting that GG. So anyway, stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. So we finally got yesterday our Gold Glove, not Gold Globe. I didn't write that. I didn't miswrite that on the headers on screen here. I just wrote that wrong in my notes. Um, but yeah, Corbin Carroll is getting a Gold Globe nomination for best hair, but that would be last year. This year he's trimmed it up. I'm trying to grow mine out to match 2024 Corbin Carroll, but no, he did not get the Gold Glove for best hair. He would have last year, but this year he only got a finalist spot for the Gold Glove in right field. He is the only Diamondback this year to be a Gold Glove finalist. I know that Perdomo was high up there, didn't quite make it. But there wasn't a ton of not a ton of candidates from the Diamondbacks. Really, if I think if Blaze Alexander been in all season, he'd probably be a candidate. Um, but the rest of them, yeah, maybe not so much. Maybe if you look at, I guess McCarthy and Thomas probably would have been candidates as well. But either way, let's go ahead and talk about Corbin Carroll. So we have Corbin Carroll from the Diamondbacks as a finalist. We have Sal Frelick from the Brewers and Fernando Tatis Jr. from the Padres. These are our three finalists out in right field. And let's go ahead and look at some of the statistics and where they all line up. The biggest one, from what I've seen, I don't know if this is the most influential, but this is the one that they seem to talk about the most, is outs above average, OAA. So how many outs do they record above the average in that position? And Corbin Carroll leads with a +9. So Corbin Carroll records 9 outs more than the average right fielder. Frelick has 7 and Tatis has 8. So Carroll, Tatis, Frelick, 9, 8, 7. The other metric that I've seen a lot is the DRS, or defensive runs saved. So you think about this as if this ball gets by them, then it's going to score, whoever's on base at the time, and and so with their good defense, how many runs were they able to prevent that would have normally scored under normal circumstances? Um, I'm not 100% sure how this metric is calculated, because it would score a lot if they just drop the ball, and as an error. But I assume it's what would not have been considered an error, but that they got out anyway. Corbin Carroll has a +7, so 7 defensive runs saved. He's tied for third in the National League with Pages on the Dodgers. In second is Frelick with 9, and Tatis has a +15. So Tatis with 15, Frelick with 9, and Carroll with +7. And then the only other statistic I really saw out here was arm velocity, and how good are they able to throw. Now Corbin Carroll has improved dramatically defensively, both in just his ability to get the ball, but which he's had tremendous plays, fantastic grabs out there in the outfield, and he's able to field things on hops really well, off the wall very well. He's prevented a lot of triples with his defense. But his arm speed, his throwing speed has never been very high. And this year he really amped it up a pretty good deal. However, his arm velocity is still below average, with an average of 86.2. His fastest throw recorded was a 95.2 or something like that. I can't remember, but it was 95 miles per hour. And it was a very epic throw at home to get the out at home on somebody who was trying to tag. But again, yeah, Corbin Carroll, not the strongest arm out there. However, in this list of people, in these finalists, the one who has the fastest throwing ability would be Fernando Tatis Jr., who is the fastest of the group and tied for 5th in the National League with a velocity of 95.5 on average. So it's that. So he's got quite the cannon, and a right fielder who can throw that fast is very, very valuable. Now, Corbin Carroll, I mean, I definitely can't throw 86.2 miles per hour. I would be lucky if I hit double digits, if I'm being completely honest. But if, but I think I look at all this, and to say that Corbin Carroll is the best right fielder in the game, in the National League at least, I feel like, I hate to say it, but yeah, I feel like having a below average throwing arm kind of hurts his chances in a really big way, in such a big way that I kind of would be surprised if he does get this over Tatis, who I think is probably the kind of the more clear winner here, which I don't like that idea, but I think that's probably what is going to happen, is that it's going to go to Tatis. If it does go to Carroll, which it still very well could, then I wouldn't be totally surprised, because you've seen his plays over the year. He how many times has he run up to the wall, jumped up in the air, off the wall to make an amazing catch? How many home runs has he robbed? How many times has he leaped up and thrown his glove in the air or to the side and made a grab? He's definitely made some impressive highlight reel plays. So I think he definitely deserves it. I think he 100% could get it. But if I had to, if I was a betting man, I would probably bet on Tatis, which is kind of a bummer. I don't like that, but that's probably what I would do. So, but let me know what you think. Please, I would love for you to prove me wrong in the comments and go, well, what about this? And what about that? You didn't bring this up. And I would love to hear that because that would make me feel much better. But looking at the stats, I think that's probably where I would sit there. Anyway, you guys, we have some other players to talk about today. We're going to talk about Jordan Lawler because he is going to be playing a little bit in this offseason. And I wanted to take the opportunity to revisit Lawler's season and to see, was it really as bad as the final line shows? Or do we have something really great ahead of us so long as he continues the trajectory, that's a weird word, that he's currently on. Sorry, you guys, it's a long night, and I haven't found my rafters hat, so I'm all off. Anyway, you guys, stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley's rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. Download the Prize Pick app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's that's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, you guys, Jordan Lawler is going to be headed down to the Dominican Republic this winter to play for the Tigres del Licey. I think that's translated. It's the Licey Tigers, Licey Tigres. I'm fluent in Portuguese. I'm not quite fluent in Spanish yet, so I'm working on it. And I want to be able to have conversations and interviews with the Spanish speaking players and such. But my Spanish is still pretty rusty. However, if we get a Brazilian or a Portuguese baseball player, oh man, we're gonna be best friends. Anyway, sorry, we're getting all off topic already. Last year, he played actually for the Tigres, for Licey. I'll say like Licey. I didn't look up the pronunciation of this. I should have. He did play down in the Dominican Republic last year and hit 237 with 3 home runs and 9 stolen bases in 27 games. He played third base and he also played shortstop. And this year is likely to play center field, get some reps, see how he feels, see how he does out there. And we know that Hazen and Lovello are going to be watching that and seeing how he performs and seeing if that's a position he's able to play next year. But let's go ahead and do a little bit of recapping on his 2025 season, because we know his batting average is 185 if you look at the final line score. 0 home runs, it doesn't look great, and it's a good amount, it's 28 games in the majors, and so it's fairly small sample size, but not so small that it feels like it should be higher than that, especially for somebody who's a huge prospect in our system, somebody that we're really kind of counting on being a big part of the team. But is it really as bad as we think? Well, let's look at that. He went 0 for 19 after getting called up on May 12th. He got called up from May 12th to May 29th. And after going 0 for 19, was sent back down to Reno. Then in August, he was called up again and went 0 for his next 12 until finally getting his first base hit. And his final 48 appearances, he ended up batting with an average of .333. He got a hit in 41 appearances to the plate. He got a hit 1/3 of the time, which was way better than a lot of our other guys. With that, he had 5 singles, 7 doubles, and 5 RBIs. So Jordan, and in that, included in that is a walk-off single that won us a game. So Jordan Lawler, in his last couple weeks of playing, did a very good job. Now, granted, he did have some troubles defensively. I think he's very talented defensively, but struggled a bit from time to time, which I think that's something that he'll grow into, and that we'll see that improve. So I'm not saying let's just throw him in DH or in center field and just leave him there. I think he's going to be a very talented third baseman. He just needs a little bit more development there. But I mean, whenever he would come up to the plate, I felt confident in him during those last couple of weeks. The first 31 plate appearances that he had, he maybe not so great, but after that, yeah, he did pretty good. So that was exciting to see. And it was exciting because in Reno, he tears it up. So in 63 games in Reno, he had a .313 batting average, 11 home runs, 27 additional extra base hits that weren't home runs, 27 extra base hits, 50 RBIs, and 20 stolen bases. So Jordan Lawler, he really is a powerhouse, and in more ways than one. And he's he's a young, handsome, cool, fun player. He's extremely talented, and he's on a good, I'm going to try this word again, trajectory. I think that's how you say it. If not, my dad will call me after. He'll call me later today and correct me. Which he does fairly regularly now. He'll be like, "Hey, you said this wrong." But he's an exciting player to watch, and not just in his at bats, but he's an exciting player to see, the direction that he's moving in. And I am really hoping we see him in the starting rotation, or not rotation, the starting lineup in 2026 in the roster to start the season, because I think that he may not start the season like blazing awesome, but I do think that having him in the lineup in the very beginning, he might struggle a little bit to start things out, but I think he's going to have a very good 2026. He may not have like an all-star caliber 2026, but I think he'll be a very reliable bat and a very reliable defender. And I think he's gonna do very well, and he'll only build on that. I was worried that he would be this kind of like in-between player where he's like really good in AAA, like so good that you're like, that's not even fair to have him in here. He needs to go up to the MLB, but then he goes up to the majors and then he stinks, and he just is like perpetually in this weird too good for AAA, not good enough for MLB state. But the end of 2025, I think, showed that that is not the case. He is destined for the majors, and he's destined for greatness in the majors. So I'm very excited to see what he's going to do alongside all of our other young and upcoming players. We have Blaze Alexander. I think Jake McCarthy and Alek Thomas have a lot to give as well. I've talked about my skepticism about them in the past, but I think they have a lot to give. And if they're able to pull it together and really start to hone in on their skills in 2026, I think they'll be a super duo of outfielders. And we have Locklear, who I think could prove to be very talented as well as plenty of others that are coming up. So you guys, there's a lot of reasons to be excited about the Diamondbacks in 2026. And we're still going to go into the season as underdogs, as we pretty much always do. And that's kind of where we want to be. We want to be the team that people don't expect much from, the players that don't get talked about very often, because when we have that chip on our shoulder and we're ready to surprise the world, that's when we play our best. And we have guys like Geraldo Perdomo and Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll, Gabby Moreno, who I think have a bit more of that experience that'll help. And then we have these young guys who have something to prove. I think that's a winning combination right there. Anyway, you guys, be sure to follow us on X and Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Diamondbacks. We're on YouTube as well as every other place you get your podcasts. If you want to see more of me, you can find more of my YouTube channels and projects at slackshack.tv. That's my website, slackshack.tv. Thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every single day. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow when hopefully I've found my hat. I spent like $40 on that.